Well, I could never accept death as a true Jedi should.
You're a true Jedi.
I couldn't accept what I'd lost.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Colton Ogburn, and we need to talk about The Acolyte, the most controversial piece of Star Wars media since The Last Jedi. We're going to talk about how divided the fandom has become in recent years, and how certain groups of haters have more scum and villainy in them than a Mos Eisley spaceport. And we'll discuss how, despite inaccurate claims that this show is somehow violating canon and changing Star Wars lore, I think we're actually seeing the tragedy of Darth Plagueis Sawai's and the legend of the Chosen One getting the attention that fans like myself have been wanting for years. A little later, I'll be joined by my friends Tommy Bechtold and Whitney Van Laningham to discuss their thoughts on this series and the hate that it is receiving. But I also want to spend some time discussing what we are excited about, and I want to hear their theories on what's next for the Acolyte now that we're at the halfway point. Okay, so in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, we learned that Anakin was a virgin in the Force.
A virgins, you say?
An immaculate conception. He's basically Star Wars Jesus. And in Revenge of the Sith, we learn about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. And Palpatine even implies that he and his master Plagueis may have been the ones responsible for the creation of Anakin.
He could use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life.
Now, originally, George Lucas intended to have this big reveal where Palpatine confirms that he is essentially Anakin's father, but they ended up leaving that somewhat vague. And since then, it's been implied that Plagueis and Palpatine didn't actually create Anakin, but that their attempt at shifting the balance of the Force to the dark side throughout the galaxy and their attempt to create life actually made it to where the Force struck back against the Sith and created the Jedi's Chosen One. So again, the exact details of the canon of the origins of Anakin Skywalker are somewhat vague. So I've personally always been excited to see that area of Star Wars explored, as have many fans, but now that we're here, there's a certain group of toxic fans that seem to actively enjoy hating Star Wars. And guys, look, I'm not saying that Star Wars is anywhere near perfect. I've had criticisms of a lot of Disney era Star Wars, but I'm also nuanced enough to point out things that I do like. And instead of bending over backwards to try and find something to hate, I go into each of these projects optimistic and looking forward to talking theories and watching space battles and lightsaber duels and brilliant pieces of absolute art like Andor. So now let's talk Acolyte. The show has an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes critic meter, but the audience score is a rotten 14%. Why? Well, to be fair, some fans just genuinely aren't digging the show, and they can tell you perfectly reasonable reasons for why it just isn't clicking for them. And that's great. In no way am I saying that if you don't like The Acolyte that you're wrong or, some kind of bigot. But here's the thing. The overwhelming majority of this horribly rotten score stems from a mass movement of people who claim to be fans, but in reality, they just love to hate. There's no verification method on Rotten Tomatoes audience scores when it comes to TV and streaming. All you need is an email address, and most of these dorks probably gave the show 5 negative reviews apiece before even watching the first episode. And it's also become quite the trend for all of these dude bros to band together and hate on Star Wars because it's woke and Disney ruined it. And they just seem to find so much enjoyment in hating Star Wars that they no longer allow themselves to have an honest opinion. They decide before even the first trailer that they're going to hate the show. They buy into all of these false narratives and baseless arguments claiming that this series is pushing some kind of agenda because, God forbid, a woman or a person of color get a little bit of screen time. I mean, from 1977 all the way to 2005, the first 6 Star Wars films had white male leads, and you didn't hear anyone calling that an agenda. But now they do a few projects with women and non-white people in the lead, and all of a sudden, there's some mass woke agenda. And look, I'm not going to name any names here, but there's some big Star Wars creators out there who I used to really admire, and their knowledge and their passion for the franchise, but not only with things that they loved, but also with things that maybe we weren't so crazy about. Any critiques we had were well informed and thought out, but now I'm seeing people who I thought were serious people that love this franchise stoop to a level that, well, it's just infuriating.
Yeah, bite me, Captain Kirk!
Hey, come on. No, that's not Shrek.
Yeah,
And let me say again, I'm not lumping you into this toxic hater group if you simply don't like The Acolyte or any other Star Wars for that matter. What you like and don't like is totally subjective, but it used to be that you could have a passionate and fun conversation about Star Wars even if it was a Star Wars you didn't like. But now it's just not fun anymore. There's this toxic piece of the fandom that get off on hate, and they're so loud, and they've got their heads so far up their sarlacc pit that they're not even acknowledging the clear as day writing on the wall for what I think this show is about to reveal. I mean, 10 or so years ago, if we heard the plot of this series, these same people hating on the show would be fangirling over the sheer possibilities that this show could bring. But now they're too caught up in loving to hate Star Wars that they won't allow themselves to enjoy anything.
Geez, TV guy, you seem pretty stressed out about all this Acolyte stuff.
I'm sorry, man. I get kind of worked up sometimes, especially if I'm already feeling anxious about other things, like work or things in my personal life. This often leads to bad habits, like me biting my lip. So I needed something to help me forget those bad oral fixation habits and replace them with a positive one. And that's why I started using Fume. They're the sponsor of this video.
Is that a vape?
It's not a vape, it's not electronic, and it doesn't have pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals. Instead, it has these plant-based cores that are infused with natural flavors to create natural flavored air. You see, flavored air is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking. Fume contains no nicotine, it is not addictive, and it contains non-toxic flavors. It has plant-based flavors like spearmint ice, orange vanilla, black licorice, and my current favorite, cinnamon hearts. Tastes like warm cinnamon spice. With flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation habits through a passive diffusion system that does not use electronics, vapor, or combustion. But mostly I like that it still gives me something to reach for when I feel anxious. It even has movable parts for fidgeting that make an incredibly satisfying sound. Fume makes switching easy and even fun. They have thousands of 5-star reviews from more than 300,000 customers who have used Fume to change their lives. And you can be their next success story. For a limited time, use my code ScreenCrush to get your free Fume base when you order the Journey Pack today. It's this all-new magnetic stand for your Fume device. So head to tryfume.com, that's tryfum.com, and use the code ScreenCrush or the QR code on screen to get your free Fume base when you order your Journey Pack today. Now, back to the Acolyte. So I personally think that Star Wars The Acolyte is setting up what could be the coolest freaking lore reveal since No, I Am Your Father, the origins of Anakin Skywalker, and the canon debut of Darth Plagueis. So now I want to bring on my friends Tommy and Whitney to get their thoughts on The Acolyte and the current state of Star Wars fandom. So guys, I just discussed how hating Star Wars seems to be like cool now amongst a certain group of so-called fans. For most of these guys, even if they did like the series, they wouldn't admit it because they hate the showrunner and they think it's woke. So Tommy, you're a very positive guy, and that's what I love about you. I think that you are the antithesis to what we're seeing now amongst a very loud minority. So what's your experience been with this faction of fandom, and does it discourage you? And how do we combat it? As Star Wars fans who are actually interested in trying to enjoy it.
I will say this, it does not discourage me one little bit, and I say every Star Wars fan out there that wants to love Star Wars and does not need to hold Star Wars up against real life geopolitical and sociological issues, and just enjoy it as a galaxy far, far away, and in fact embrace when they find characters who reflect themselves on screen and get joy and comfort and motivation from that. To you, I say onward, continue loving Star Wars. To the others who feel the need to criticize everything Star Wars before it even comes out, I say, I don't believe you for 1 second. I don't trust you. I don't believe you. I think you are full of baloney. I think that you have understood the algorithm of Twitter and what Meta is now becoming, kind of copying Twitter, which is engagement and enragement lead to payment, baby. So you are going to criticize and going to ostracize in order to monetize. And I don't buy it for a second. And I'm talking directly to people that know me and I know and are going to watch this and wonder if I'm talking about them. I am talking about you. I still consider you my friends, but I am very disappointed in you for selling out something that you said you would never do just to get clicks and make fun of chicks. So I don't like it. And I don't mean to be flippant, but I will say this. I love Star Wars. I love the good. I love the bad. I love the ugly. I love Star Wars. I love the fact that we can escape to these faraway galaxies and see these cool creatures and see these, interesting aliens and droids. For crying out loud, we have droids that make us laugh and droids that can make us emotional. Give me a break. That is awesome. Do not let it be ruined by people who signed up for a blue check mark on Twitter after making fun of people that had blue check marks for years and type things like Star Wars going to be about girls has ruined Star Wars. We're all smarter than that, including the people typing it. So no, I am not discouraged. I'm encouraged because in the end, the cream always rises to the top, as Macho Man Randy Savage said. These people will get bored and they'll move on to making fun of James Gunn's DCEU and call it the DC She-U. And that will be fine because I say DC you to them. And I simply say Star Wars is for all. If you think that a galaxy that includes people with tentacles out of their head and spikes coming out of their head and robots and people in love with those robots is an exclusionary galaxy, I have another thing to tell you. I have some swampland in Florida to sell you, my friends, because you are being idiots. That's all I got to say about that.
Those people already live in the Florida swamp.
That's true.
They're not in the market for more.
Stay in Florida and take a bath with an alligator.
More swamp. Dagobah this That's what I want.
Well, Whitney, I want to bring it over to you. I know that you as a woman in this space have certainly witnessed, this portion of fandom and their toxicity probably firsthand. And I've never seen it discourage you, though, from your love of Star Wars, just like with Tommy. And I think that speaks so much to the different mindset between people like us and then the haters. So what are your thoughts on what we're seeing happening right now with these reactions to the Acolyte?
I am a veteran in this situation. I have been told since I was 7 years old and I started bringing my metal Empire Strikes Back lunchbox to school that I was a fake geek girl for liking Star Wars and that girls can't like Star Wars. You've been telling me that since the first grade. This isn't new. Get a new thing. Get a new thing. You've been saying this for so many years. I also just find it ridiculous because sort of like Tommy was saying, you can accept Salacious Crumb and Babu Frick, but you don't want ladies and people of color in space. I don't really get it. At least the other two things exist in real life. I don't get why you would choose weird little guys over just having normal fucking feelings about people who are.
Hey, let's not call Ben Shapiro out personally, all right?
All right, let's not call him out personally. But yeah, I do think that it isn't really discouraging because I feel like it's just a very loud minority. It's a little group of people that Elon Musk has convinced are going to be big shot white guys when they get to space. And when they colonize space, they're going to be just like Luke Skywalker. Well, I have news for you, boys. You're already like Luke Skywalker. You're a bunch of whiners, and you're whining about Star Wars, and you want to go into Tashi Station to get the power converters. And why are we still going towards it? And I just get a new thing. I've heard it all before. Princess Leia rules. Lando Calrissian rules. You want to tell me that in the 70s people were like, Lando's too woke? What? Come here, you old pirate. Good to see you. He's one of the best characters in the entire franchise and so beloved. And I'm just like, why is this new for you people? I don't understand how any of this is sudden or something to be angry about now that you weren't angry about in the 70s and 90s. Why now? Why be mad?
Well, that's the thing. And I won't get too into our current political climate, but I think that has a lot to do with it. Star Wars has not changed. It's our
the same
cultural
thing.
climate.
I still like it. Like
Yeah.
that's how it has not changed my enjoyment at any point. I just like this series.
Yeah. And I'll add, I just briefly, I think that kind of like a lot of discourse online these days, the arguments, and I think this is a bit tactical, are so ridiculous and surface and false and kind of flawed and bad faith, really, that it eliminates discourse on actual genuine valid critiques. Like we can't even really get into the flaws of the Acolyte as people who consume it and talk about it. I mean, we can and we do, thank goodness, because we're good at our jobs. But in our general initial feelings and thoughts, it's like we basically have to bat away the bad faith harassment that these shows take just by being diverse, and not even forced diverse, just by being naturally diverse and intuitively diverse, as is how society is. We can't even get into the actual critique and the art critique. I mean, art criticism to me is basically dead, because now you're just defending, progression and forward movement in human existence, that people deserve to be seen on screen as a reflection of who they are in a genuine way. Sure, we've all seen ham-fisted, kind of forced moments in different, products or projects. And it's like, it always sets off your spider signal of like, this feels a little pandery. But I would take that over a complete elimination or denial of the existence of a group of people that are fans of a certain intellectual property. So to me, it's like, dang, it really sucks that we can't even get into like, well, I think the direction in episode 3 was a little wonky on the kid actors. I feel like the director kind of did the two girls playing Oshi and May a little dirty, until we have to explain, like, first of all, these insane criticisms. And as you mentioned in the video, Colton, the Rotten Tomatoes scores, critics versus audience score, which is like very often used to be the opposite, where you're like, the audience score indicates that this is a great popcorn movie, that you'll enjoy it, and the critics just can't bring themselves to give an Adam Sandler movie, anything higher than a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes.
The critics will just never give Grown-Ups 2 its flowers.
That's right. Exactly.
The Paul Blart Mall cops of the world are suffering because of assholes like you.
Maybe Kevin flew too close to the sun by making a sequel to Paul Blart. But The Zookeeper, I'll die on the hill that The Zookeeper is a phenomenal movie. Anyway, I digress. But it just sucks that like we have to spend 10 minutes defending the right for, and not even defending, but just saying like it's okay to acknowledge that these characters exist in Star Wars and celebrate them, and you shouldn't feel stupid just because some white guy in his 50s on the internet is going like, this is way too ridiculous. George Lucas is rolling over in his very alive bed right now because he's not dead, and it's stupid. I'm sorry. I just am frustrated.
No, I think you're spot on, because look, I could go on for hours about problems I have with Rise of Skywalker, but anything, I feel like anytime I go to criticize something, I have to preface it with like good and that's not because that this certain group of toxic people would say, oh yeah, that's because the woke left is so no, it's because you have ruined everything and make it to where I can't even criticize something without first trying to make sure that I don't get lumped in with you idiots.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
And you dive immediately into bad faith takes on this stuff that you don't even really believe in. I don't believe you that you actually think this, because it's so stupid. And I know you're smarter than this. You just want you want to appeal to people that might actually agree with this. And you want the engagement in the negative. You want people who are more intuitive and can take in the property better or more nuanced than you, take in the takes more nuanced, to argue with you so that you get comments and likes and engagement. That's all.
Well, and it used to be, and you guys know this, you're video people, it used to be, the hate type stuff initially would get more clicks, but you couldn't really build a community on it. Now, unfortunately, that they are building communities on it. It's really disappointing. But
I mean, not to jump on another. Oh, sorry. Wait. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just gonna say, like, why do they keep watching something if they don't like it? Like, if you don't like it, just don't watch it. For example, like, again, I'm not saying this, because I'm closed-minded to the Star Wars universe, but I don't know. I didn't really like Boba Fett that much. I didn't think it was that good. But I feel a lot, like you guys said, like I can't just say that. It's the same with like Secret Invasion. I hated Secret Invasion. And like I always feel like because people are so down and shitty about Marvel stuff as well, where it's like the exact same things, I always feel like, oh God, like I'm gonna say it because I don't believe in being dishonest about stuff that I like and do like, obviously, but like I felt like when we were talking about Secret Invasion with Palaxy and stuff like that, none of us liked it. Like, so why? So I'm not going to watch that series again. And I think it's valid criticism to be able to say, like, hey, here's X, Y, and Z why I didn't like it. I didn't like the storyline. I didn't like what they did with this character. The CGI was bad, you know, and it's just like that. Or like, oh, like why did like none of this roadie stuff makes sense? There's that too. And
I'm offended by the AI credit sequence at the beginning.
I'm offended by the AI credit sequence. I think it
offended.
Sucks. I'm offended.
But I do want to point out, Whit, that's a great point to advertise. This month on Patreon, Whitney will be rewatching Secret Invasion from start to finish. It's Secret Whitvasion month, everyone.
Secret Whitvasion. And then afterwards, I'm only going to talk about Madam Web.
Yes.
So it's just going to be those two on repeat.
Hey, ScreenCrush has a great video on why Madam Web is the greatest superhero movie of all time. So
Ryan has a great video.
Okay, sorry. Ryan.
Sorry, Ryan. We love you.
Yes. So, okay. I want to talk Darth Plagueis. I'm a huge Plagueis fan. I love me some Plagueis. And I am irritated that my boy is being used by certain people to claim that the Acolyte is somehow, it's ruining Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you guys, is the Acolyte in any way stepping on the toes of the Chosen One lore, the Darth Plagueis the Wise lore? I personally in no way see how it is. In fact, I think it's making it a lot cooler. We have freaking dark magic Sith witches that may have shown him how to do this. I think that's awesome. So Tommy,
No, listen, what is wrong with fleshing out what something means in the canon of a saga, of a franchise? Why is it bad to learn additional information about this ability to manipulate the Force to create life? And how is it not cool that a coven of witches are like the early adopters of this technology, and then Darth Plagueis the Wise, who has wise in his nickname, is able to learn from these witches and then create and possibly teach Sheev Palpatine how to create a Chosen One and Messiah and Anakin Skywalker, that whoops-a-daisy is a false Messiah to the people that think he's their Messiah, and actually becomes the dark side's Messiah, and then takes his mask off so that he can look upon his son with his own eyes and then dies. Listen, spoiler for Star Wars.
Spoiler for Return of the Jedi.
I don't know why it's so bad to learn more about how something came to be. Why is it bad to learn more? Why is learning bad? When did learning get bad?
Well, I don't want to learn.
Well, because when I learn about new things, it forces me to see new ideas, and I want to stick to my regular ideas. That Darth Plagueis was drinking Budweiser when he figured out how to put babies from the Force into women's bodies and make new Force babies, drinking his Budweiser, watching a race, watching a stock car race, watching Kurt Busch take home the Winston Cup named after the cigarettes. Okay, that's what my Plagueis was doing. He was watching Kurt Busch.
Not my Plagueis.
Last name, by the way. Kurt freaking Busch win the Winston Cup, drinking Budweiser, planting Force babies in women's wombs. Okay, that's day one Plague Hag mentality.
Well, and that's
canon.
It is.
Yeah. That's canon.
That's shot out of a t-shirt cannon.
Yeah, exactly. I love it because I think I don't understand, I guess, in my opinion, I don't understand why people have a problem with them establishing that thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago it was, or hundreds, I don't fucking know. I can't do math. I can sure not do space math. So I'm sorry if I'm fucking that up. But I don't understand how or why people are upset about the rules being different in the past, because it's a very easy way to kind of be like, oh, that's why the chosen one mentality is like this at the time, because it changes over the course of time and history and learning things. So I like it. I dig it. That's just me. I also just think it's very funny that people are getting mad about there being like this cool witch coven that like reproduces without boners at all, because I'm like, did you guys also just boycott Wonder Woman and Amazonia for the same reason? Like, I don't understand. Wonder Woman was an allegory for BDSM. Okay, there's nothing more American than that, and I just think that it's been done. This is something that has been done, and I don't understand why people are getting upset about it now.
You think these guys would be into that? I don't know.
You think that they would? Who knows? Maybe this witch coven is also into BDSM. Don't write someone off for not being into BDSM until you know for sure. That's my opinion.
I always say that.
That's another t-shirt.
Well, when Ryan's not here, things just really.
I was going to say, you invited Whitney and I on together.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm sorry. This is what you
No,
call
I love it. I love it.
Roost.
Here's the other thing. What? I love this book.
Ooh.
You see that?
Legends.
People keep referencing this book, which I love, as, oh, you're violating what was established in this book. It's not canon. One, so it doesn't matter. But two, even if this book was canon, and for those of you who can't see, it's the Darth Plagueis novel. It's not canon, but even if the contents of this book were canon, nothing that is being established in the Acolyte violates anything really that happens in this book, other than the fact that it adds some really cool stuff that ties in with other shows like Clone Wars and Rebels. In Clone Wars and Rebels, we have seen Darth Sidious interact with the Night Sisters. He's interested in their magic with a K. He uses a cauldron. We saw that in Clone Wars and Rebels, him using a cauldron and like this blue flame magic. So if we learn that Palpatine learned all that because Plagueis learned all that from Night Sister, or not Night Sister, excuse me, but like from a witch coven, I think that makes it all the more cooler. And people like myself who have been a hardcore Plagueis fan, and we were hoping Snoke would be Plagueis and all that all the way back in Force Awakens. They're finally acknowledging my boy, and I'm seeing so many of those same people now like, oh, they're ruining it, and I'm like, can't you take a win? I just find it infuriating.
No.
All right, Colton, I'm gonna have to say, speak for yourself. I wanted Snoke to be Jar Jar. That was my thing back in the day. So I just gotta say it.
I wanted Snoke to be Doctor Doom.
Well, Whitney, there is a new Star Wars Lego movie that has Darth Jar Jar. I don't know if you're gonna have to watch it.
Yes, that's
we'll
exactly
have to come back and talk
Inject
about that
straight into my veins.
Darth Jar Jar, and he's voiced. It's Ahmed Best again, right? They got Ahmed.
Yeah,
Best.
they got him, but he's evil this time.
Good.
So, guys, I did a lot of. I just complained a lot, and I complained a lot before I brought you guys on. And I don't want to be negative. I'm complaining about people being so negative.
It's okay,
I want to show people how you're supposed to, enjoy a fandom and be a Star Wars fan. So I thought that I would ask you my two Star Wars experts here. What are your theories for what's next for the second half of the Acolyte? I want to hear your most bizarre, just fun, crazy theories, what you hope to see, what you're excited about for these. I believe it's next 4 episodes. I believe it's an 8-episode series. So Tommy, what are you hoping to see?
Okay, I'm going to give you 2. I'm going to give you one that is one that I think is a reasonable, and one that I think is way out there. Here's my reasonable. We just saw the seemingly the Sith Master, or at least the dark side of the Force user, appear to face off against the Jedi, the surviving Jedi on the planet that Cal Naka was hiding out on. I believe, as many do, that Force user is a surviving witch from the massacre or the tragedy on May and Osha's home planet. I believe that it is their mother who carried them, Coral. And I believe I sensed my spider sense went off in just the way that mysterious person interacted with Osha at the end there when they faced each other. It just something felt weird. It felt different than just good versus evil standoff to me. It felt, I don't know. The hair stood up on the back of my neck. So I predict we're going to, as many others do, not just me, we are now going to have a family triangle once again, as it comes to play in Star Wars, of a family struggle to fight good versus evil from the inside of the family. Now,
well, let me say real quick, friend of the channel and fellow guardian of the Galaxy, MT, also had great theory on that up on Heavy Spoilers.
Yes.
Let me ask you, I did a video suggesting that perhaps it's Mother Anastasia. But so you think, but you know what? I think you guys might be right. It might actually be Coral.
I mean, either would be exciting. And I also think they're setting us up to believe that, is it Kyron? Manny Jacinto's character, that it's just him, right? Like, because he's on the planet already.
Yeah.
He did the classic Palpatine, I'm helpless, like in the snare, like, let me down. And then, like, probably did like a sick force flip out of it. And like,
oh, absolutely.
Like,
he did a sick flip.
So, like, I think we're being set up to believe that it's him. But I think that he is the actual apprentice of that force user, as we've talked about it. And May is a bit of not a patsy, but a bit of a pawn in the ultimate quest. Now, here's my far out thing.
Yes,
I believe this is an effort to take down the Jedi in its entirety, and I believe that Torben, Kalnaka, and Indara are all alive under the experimental magic of Darth Plagueis and this other Force user. They have faked their deaths and used their Force manipulation and their ability to keep people alive to fake all of their deaths because they are all part of a secret Sith witch hybrid coven. This is my far out. It's a Sith witch, like a chip witch, but not as delicious, but a little more mysterious and a little more superstitious. It's a Sith witch coven that is coming to destroy the Jedi. But what's going to happen is they will all be destroyed, and the one remnant, the one derivative, the one runoff product of this will be a surviving Darth Plagueis, who will then begin the Sith Order by taking on his apprenticeship,
reestablish it
some 40 years in the future. I rest my case, Your Honor.
I love that. And you know, in this book, Plagueis had like subjects who, when he was practicing his ability, you know, like to cure people and stuff and bring them back to life. I think that's a really cool theory. Maybe he brought them back. That's really neat. Whitney, what do you have? Beat that.
I can't beat that, but I can say that I do agree with Tommy that I do think that oh my gosh, why am I now blanking on his name? We just said it.
Kyron?
Kyron. I'm so sorry. Yes,
that's
Kyron.
Okay. A lot of new names. It's a whole show of new names.
A lot of new names.
I just learned his name.
Memorize real quick. I know. I've just been because he's on The Good Place, and so my husband and I just call him Blake Bortles because that was also the character on The Good Place.
Also, it's Chimere, not even
Chimere. See, we f***ed it up. We totally f***ed it up. Okay, I'm still just gonna call him Blake Bortles. So Blake Bortles, I do think definitely has to be in it to win it for himself, because I thought it was so gosh dang suspicious that they're like walking through that forest and he's like, okay, but like you're definitely gonna kill him, right? Like we're definitely gonna kill this guy and we're definitely gonna do it without a weapon and we're definitely like right. And I'm just like, that is too suspicious for him to not be like the mentee.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Whit, but I think I think your point is excellent because he's behaving the faux, fearful, nervous energy that Chief Palpatine exhibited to Anakin in the prequels, where it was like, I'm just this kind of feeble, goofy old senator that has these radical ideas. I don't know. Do any of them interest you? You know, maybe they don't. The Jedi are wonderful, of course, but I couldn't be the mastermind of this whole thing. Like, and who did he learn from? He learned from Plagueis, baby.
He learned from Plagueis, baby. So yeah,
Plagueis.
Yeah,
It's like
he's
Vegas.
an original.
Sin
Black
City.
guy.
Well, I love both of those theories so much, and I want to tell you guys my theory coming up next, and how Plagueis could be making his physical canon debut in this series. But first, I want to thank you, Tommy, Whitney. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Their socials are below, and I want to congratulate you guys. You just hit 10,000 subscribers, right?
Yeah.
We
Guardians of the
just
Galaxy?
hit 10K on the Galaxy. I am
just hit
super
10K.
happy forever. Yeah.
I am
too greedy.
I am so proud of you guys. That is
Thank
really
you.
cool. And if you're watching and you haven't checked out Guardians of the Galaxy, be sure to. It's a fantastic podcast. MT is also on there, so be sure to check that out. All right, thank you guys, and let's get into my theory.
So as we just discussed, I'm a huge Plagueis fan. That scene in Revenge of the Sith where Palpatine tells Anakin about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise is the best scene in the prequels. And I have always wanted more, and one of my favorite things about the Acolyte is the fact that they're expanding on the lore of virginces in the Force and the mysteries of dark side magic. I think right now we are seeing the first steps to Star Wars actually giving us answers on the origins of Anakin Skywalker and the journey to that tragic night when the Dark Lord was betrayed by his apprentice and killed in his sleep. Sheev Palpatine's ascendance to head Sith and Supreme Chancellor was one of the final steps in the Sith's master plan, but now we're getting to see the first steps to their master plan, and we've got a banger of a video up on the channel right now by our good friend Pavel breaking down the Sith's master plan. Be sure to check that out. So guys, let me know, are you as put out as I am by the misguided hate that the Acolyte is getting, or are you one of these folks who thinks that it's ruining Star Wars? Let me know down in the comments below, or you can @ me on Twitter. I'm sure you will. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Colton Ogburn.